Hi guys, and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be doing a really requested video, and that is my horse's winter evening routine. So I'm going to be doing the horses at home. Smokey's evening routine is literally he gets brought into the stable. That is it. That's all I do with him on a night normally. What is that? So I'm down at my parents' farm at the moment, and I'm about to bring three of the 6 horses in. So Lucy, Danny and Chili all live in all through winter. They come in every single night. And then Taffy, Chunky and Caramel, they only come in if it's really bad weather, or it's snowing, or it's really cold, or if it's really raining. But because they're all natives and because they have a really thick winter coat, normally they stay out just rugged up if they need a rug. But yeah, so we're going to start by taking down their hay and feeding them. So they all get fed in the field and then they come up because it's easier that way. Then they're not like all racing about to try and come in. But yeah, so let's jump into the routine. So the first job of the evening is to make up the horses' feeds. So we head into the tack room, take out all the feeds, and as you can see, they have already been prepared. So each morning my mum is the first one round and she will make the feeds. That's because sometimes it can be me, it can be mum, or it can be my dad that bring the horses in. So me and mum obviously know what they eat, but my dad doesn't. So if mum makes them every single morning, then it's just easier because no matter who's bringing in, all they have to do is add water, give them a mix, and then they're all ready to go. So that is literally all we do. Lay out all 6 of the buckets and then add some water. You'll also notice that Danny and Taffy's feeds, both of those are already dampened, so we add water to the nuts when it's first made up just to soften the nuts because they're both elderly gentlemen and they do struggle slightly. So the first part of my horse's evening routine is that they all get fed in the fields. So me and my mum are taking down the feeds. I've got all the feed buckets and my mum is going to follow with all of the hay nets. So the reason that we feed in the field and not in the stable is because when you have 6 horses that are all wanting to be fed and all wanting to rush in for their feed, things can get very escalated very quickly because obviously normally there's only 1 or 2 of us bringing in, so it can take a while to bring each horse in. So we feed in the field so that all the horses are happy, and no one's rushing to get in, no one's kind of, being naughty basically. And one thing you'll notice as well is that all of our buckets at the minute are double bucketed, so each horse has like a bucket in a bucket, and the reason for that is just because our fields, with them being on clay, can get really muddy and it's easier to wash them separately, if that makes sense. Like the bottom one could be washed like more often. Then you'll see what I mean later. But anyway, what we feed our horses, so my horses are mainly on balancer. None of them are in heavy work this winter. Normally the ones that are in heavier work are Lucy and Chili, but Chili gets fed 3 times a day, so he gets a very small feed because it's spread out, and Lucy isn't in particularly heavy work at the minute, so they're mainly on balancer with a bit of chaff, depending on what they need. And then the older boys, so Danny and Taffy, get significantly more in winter because obviously being older they struggle to keep their weight on, so this is just to keep them in a good fit condition. And then finally Chunk basically gets nothing really, but he just gets a little bit just because everyone else gets fed and he'd get grumpy otherwise. So once they've all been fed, I take down the hay nets ready to replenish them. So the 3 ponies that live out get their hay nets emptied on an evening just to reduce the risk of them getting in their legs caught in hay nets or anything like that overnight, because obviously if something scares them on an evening, it's easier to do that. Charlie has his hung up just because he's a fatty, and Taffy has like chopped haylage now, so he doesn't have a hay net anyway. And the reason that we hang the other horses' hay nets up and then just bring them in with them is, again, just to keep them occupied while they're in the field. It just makes our lives easier. So that's the first stage of the horses' routine done. They're all fed, they've all now got full bellies, so they're happy, and it's just a case of collecting up all the hay nets and all of the buckets. The buckets will be washed later, and then we take everything up so everything's out of the way and sorted, and then we start bringing in. Chili. Good, Dan. Here we go. Yeah, you can just stick that in it. Yes, I know. Good lad. So my mum took everything up while I got Chili. So we always bring our horses in the same order. Let me know if you do that. I don't know, I think Chili wouldn't be very happy if we brought the others in first. He's very much numero uno in his head. He thinks he's very important. And he is, but he thinks he's the most important. So he comes up first. So we just bring them in, take their head collar off and pop their hay net up. So Chili wears these mud boots just because I don't think he's had mud fever before, but he tends to churn his field up quite badly because he likes to run about a lot in winter. So he has these Lemieux mud boots on just to prevent any mud fever or reduce the chance of him actually getting it because he can get quite muddy legs. And obviously it helps keep him clean and happy. So we just take those off and then it's time to take his rug off. So as Chili is clipped, I do also change his rug, so he goes from his medium weight turnout, sometimes heavyweight if it's like snowing or whatever, but he's only half clipped, so it's rare that he has his heavyweight on. And then he gets typically a 200 gram evening stable rug on. So being 5'2/5'3", I can't actually decide what height I am, I need to remeasure. I find it really difficult putting rugs on, especially on Chili because he is so tall. And there he is, my gorgeous big man, all in his PJs, ready for the night. So then I head down to fetch Lucy in, and typically while I bring the next horse in, my mum picks out the previous horse's feet. So while I go and fetch Lucy, she'll pick out Chili's. It's just kind of something we've done, mainly because I like try and get out of picking out the horse's hooves as much as possible in winter, just because you end up getting mudded up, and if I'm bringing in and changing rugs, it's easier if one of us gets muddy while the other one does all the like difficult bits. And Lucy is such a good girl in an evening. All this horse wants to do is eat, so provided she's got a hay net in front of her, she is more than happy. And at the moment, Lucy isn't clipped at all. She's been hogged and she's had her feathers trimmed, but she's not actually had her body clipped as of yet. So she doesn't get a rug on an evening. She just gets her turnout rug taken off and hung up. And then finally, it's time to bring Danny in. So when you fetch Danny in, I have to avoid Chili's stable at all costs because he will try and bite him. And Danny gets his hay net emptied onto the floor because being an old boy and having not many teeth, he finds it easier to eat it off the floor than he does if it's hung up in the net. And his routine is pretty much exactly the same as Lucy's. Again, he's not clipped, so when he's in the stable, he doesn't have a stable rug on, so I just take off his rug and hang that up. So then typically the last horse in, I then pick out their hooves. Mum's normally cleaning buckets by this point. So Danny, for anyone wondering, has front shoes on even though he's not in work and hasn't been in work for several years now. He is fully retired, and the reason he has shoes on is because Danny has issues with going lame. We've tried him without and he's much happier with the support of having front shoes on. It just helps him. So that is the reason he is shod. And he had a lot in his hooves tonight. So then at this point, once all the horses are in and happy, it depends on how much time we have and what we've done during the day. So if the horses have been ridden during the day, typically they've already been groomed. Now this day we hadn't ridden, but it's been a really long day, and we were really quite busy, so we didn't groom this evening, but normally we would groom them if we've got time. And then it's on to cleaning the buckets. So tonight we're just going to be rinsing out the buckets. The buckets are rinsed out every single day, ready to be refilled in the morning. So 6 days out of the week they are just rinsed, and then the 7th day they get cleaned with fairy liquid, but again that wasn't tonight. But they do get a deep clean once a week. But tonight we're just going to be leaving them to air dry and they can be refilled in the morning. Okay, so here we go, that's all of the horses that come in, put away for the night. They've all had their feet picked out and their rugs changed. So Chili's the only one who's got a rug on because he's the only one clipped at the moment. Night, Chill. But yeah, they're all nice and happy. They've got plenty of hay for the evening. Well, Lucy will probably have eaten hers very quickly because she's a bit of a fatty. Yellow. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed my routine. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all soon. Bye guys.